Hello, welcome to another episode of Ellie's Garage. In this video, I'm replacing my old brakes with shiny new ones. Now when taking the wheel off, you want to make sure you loosen the lug nuts before you jack the car up, otherwise the wheel is just going to spin. Now we can go ahead and jack the car up, and you want to be very thoughtful with your jack placement and careful and go slow so as not to damage yourself or the car. It also helps if you have sparkly purple jack stands. If you want to be extra safe, you can slide the wheel under the car after you take it off. This silver stuff is Never Seas that I put on a while back, and it really makes it a lot easier to get the wheel off. Now this is the brake line, and I'm disconnecting it from this little bracket here, but I'm going to leave it connected to the calipers so I don't have to bleed the brakes when I'm done. The caliper is connected to the caliper bracket with two bolts, one on the top and one on the bottom. And if it's on too tight, just pretend like it's one of your siblings and start hitting it with a block of wood. That usually works. Now if you're just replacing the brake pads, you don't actually have to take the bottom one out all the way. Just loosen it a little bit so it can turn, and then you can actually just flip the caliper down and get to the brake pads that way. Since I'm going to be replacing the rotor and repainting the caliper, I'm going to go ahead and take it all the way off. Now a lot of Hondas have these screws here, which are essentially just there to hold it on while you get the wheel on, and kind of useless, and they're a pain to get out. I'm using this impact screwdriver to try and help get them out, and I actually ended up editing a lot of it out because it just took so long. You can see here I actually grabbed a sledgehammer to try and get it out. Unfortunately, I think the sledgehammer might have been a little bit too much for it, and I ended up breaking one of the bits. Fortunately, there's another bit in the set, and after quite some time, I finally was able to loosen the screw. Next, I removed the old brake pads, which weren't actually as bad as I thought they were going to be. There was still a bit of the pad left, and they seemed to be wearing pretty evenly, so that's a good sign. The next step is to remove these little clips, which with enough force pop right out. Now to take the caliper bracket off, you just have these two bolts on the top and on the bottom, similar to the caliper itself. Now if you're wondering why I keep putting this pipe over the wrench, that's really just to give myself leverage because lots of these bolts are a bit too tight for my little arms. Once we got all that off, we can go ahead and take the rotor off, and we're going to start by removing those little screws that we loosened earlier. Now, unfortunately, whoever replaced this rotor last did not put any member C's or anything on it, so it was a little bit tricky to get off. Now, the rotors themselves aren't actually that bad. You can see a little bit of lip starting, but they aren't worn too badly. Honestly, I could still use them. Now, while I have the wheels off, I might as well clean them. And I'm going to use iron remover. I'm not sure how well it'll work on those really dark spots, but we'll see. It got some of the grime off, but there's still a bit left, so I'm going to go ahead and use this brush and do it again and really scrub at it and see what happens. using the brush definitely helped. There's still a bit left, but it's a lot better than it was. I also ended up using some of that iron remover on the other brake parts, since I will be painting them later in the video. The caliper was caked in brake dust, so I had to go over it with a wire brush before washing it. I also used the C-clamp and one of the old brake pads to compress the caliper so it'd be easier to work on. After the parts were clean, I put some plastic down and then spray painted it pink, because everything's better in pink. Also, is this normal? I've never seen a spray can with this sort of sprayer on it. I ended up doing 2 coats because the first coat didn't really cover it that well. Now that the paint's dry, I can put it all back together. Yay! I used a wire brush to get some of the rust off, and then I used some anti-seize so it'll be easier to get the brake rotor off next time. Ooh, it's so shiny! When you're putting the rotor on, make sure to line up the screw holes, or just throw them away and forget about them. Either way. When I put the screws in, I added some lubricant and only put them in loosely, so it'd be easier to get them off next time. I accidentally got some of the lubricant on the rotor, so I just used some brake cleaner to clean it off. Now we can start assembling the caliper. And to do this, it's just going to be the exact reverse of taking it off. There's those two bolts from before that hold this bracket on. Once you get the bracket back on, you're going to want to snap these clips back in. Next, I'm going to put the caliper part way on, but still leave it open so I can do the brake pads. Now before I install the brake pads, I'm going to put some lubricant on the back and also on the little tabs. Now when you put the brake pads in, they should snap right into those little clips that we put in earlier. It's also important to note that while you're putting the lubricant on, be careful not to get it on the brake pad itself, only get it on the tabs and the back of the brake pad. Once you get the brake pads in, you can go ahead and fold the caliper up. You may have to compress the rubber part to get it to fit. Next, I'm going to put the brake line back in that little bracket. Before we put the wheel back on, I'm going to put some more of this Never Sees on. You don't want to get a flat tire and then not be able to get your wheel off. That would not be a fun time. Also, wheels are kind of heavy and awkward, so I've found it's a lot easier if you sort of rest it on your foot and use that to help guide it. Or you could just have muscles, I guess. Well, the wheel can still wheel, so I guess I didn't screw up too badly. Now that the wheel is on, we can go ahead and set the car down. Once you get the car down, don't forget to properly torque the lug nuts, because otherwise your wheel might just go flying off in the middle of the road, which is less than ideal.